I would be lying if I told you I was excited about X-Men 97, because I wasn't. I thought that this was another Marvel cash grab that was meant to tug at those nostalgia strings everyone has. And I really didn't like the fact that they were gonna use the same dull art style from What If. But after 10 weeks, I gotta say, my first impressions were completely wrong. I haven't watched every episode yet because finals have been kicking my ass. But from what I've seen, these writers know exactly what they're doing. They don't play on nostalgia at all and are actually bringing something refreshing, yet similar and familiar to the X-Men brand. And the animation in the show is actually really good. It is nothing like What If. Every frame and action is very colorful and vibrant. But with all its success, it has us fans questioning what show is next to get revived and finish some of their unfinished business. So in this video, I'll be ranking how badly I really want to see a show be revived and give you some reasons as to why and why not. So how about we start with everyone wants to see come back, the 90s Spider-Man. D tier. We're done with the 90s. Now I get it, everyone loves X-Men 97, so of course Spider-Man should come back too. But I just think we get enough Spider-Man content already, and there are just bigger things to be tackled, stories that never really got to end properly, or maybe something we just didn't see enough of, like Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which is S tier for me. This show brings to life the closest thing we have to the actual Marvel comics, and it blends so many iconic storylines so well. It just ended far too soon. With this show, we can finally start to distance ourselves from that brand synergy that Marvel has created with their MCU. We need to start having more of a variety of content when it comes to these shows and not just MCU adjacent or MCU inspired. But with that being said, a show like Iron Man Armored Adventures is something that fits the description I'm looking for, but I'm still going to put it in C tier. Iron Man Armored Adventures was a show that followed a teenage Tony Stark as he becomes Iron Man and tries to avenge his father's death. The show itself didn't end on any cliffhangers or unresolved issues. It's a great retelling of the source material, and that's about it. I'm not begging for it to be revived, but I also wouldn't mind seeing another season for it, but for now, it's just middling. But another teenage version of an iconic superhero is Batman Beyond, and I think I'll have to put this one in A tier. This is a show I would love to see again simply because of how amazing the animation would be. I mean, we've seen the fan animations for the rejected movie, so just imagine that with this revived series. It did have a bookend to it though, but that's kind of a good thing. We can see Terry embrace being alone or maybe creating a new Bat family. With the recent passing of Kevin Conroy, the series definitely could adapt to his absence pretty well. But on the other hand, we have a show like Justice League Unlimited, which is F tier simply because it won't feature Batman, which I know is weird for me to say, seeing I just said we're not bringing back 90s Spidey because he's featured too much in media, and for Batman, he's like 70% of the reason why DC has stayed relevant for the past 20 years. So people of course now want to see less of the Caped Crusader, but this show and universe just isn't complete without Bruce Wayne. Like, I get it if he's already passed on in Batman Beyond, but I don't think there's a way to explain his absence from a Justice League Unlimited revival, unless it's a brand new roster entirely, and that's just a whole different conversation that we can have at a later time. But I guess while we're here, I can rank the last DCAU show, Static Shock, and it's gonna be right next to Iron Man in the C tier. I like Static Shock a lot. It had a long and impactful run. Everyone knows Static at this point, and it's actually amazing how long this show has lived on with its fans. We got streamers and YouTubers still out here repping Static in their profile pics and emotes. This iteration of the character will be remembered for a long time, but I think it's time we get a new version of Static in modern times. Maybe this time we can see an expansion of more milestone characters like Hardware, Icon, and Rocket. It can be inspired by the new milestone return comments. I mean, the first ones are literally titled Season 1, but Static is just one teen hero we would love to see again. But there's always the Teen Titans, who I think deserve to finally get a chance to end their story the right way, and for that, the Titans get an S tier. We have sad Teen Titans Go poking fun at its cancellation for a decade now, and I think it's time to finally give them a season 6 to tie up everything. Either way, the fans have been begging for it, and with that supposed new Titans movie in development, it wouldn't hurt to give the brand some juice with this. But on the other hand of teenage heroes on a team, we have Young Justice, which is D tier. This is a show that has already been resurrected once, and when it finally got here, it was just a pale imitation of itself. It looked like the budget was cut in half with this dull and emotionless animation. The storylines were all over the place, mostly because they felt the need to keep introducing an abundant amount of new characters. To me, the show was definitely a top tier DC show in its first 2 seasons, but after that, in the last 2, it's middling if not just bad. I wouldn't want to see Young Justice come back for one last season because the creator and head writer already said he would never bookend the show even if he knew it was going to be their last season. He would still leave on cliffhangers and unresolved story points like he has in every single season so far. So yeah, for me, Young Justice, it can just end here unless they're willing to actually have a bookend to the series. And for the last DC show on the list, we can talk about Green Lantern, the animated series. A tier. This show could have created a brand new DCAU if the Green Lantern movie was not a critical disaster.
Goddamn, that's beautiful.
But sadly, DC just completely shelved everything Green Lantern related after that failure. Which is a shame because this show understood the Green Lantern mythos so well, and it was canceled way too early. I think this show can actually have an X-Men 97 impact. And it's only an A tier because I do think they can just make a whole new Green Lantern show that focuses on its mythos that has nothing to do with this show. Plus, they probably won't use CGI, which personally gives me the heebie-jeebies. Another show that was gone far too soon was The Spectacular Spider-Man, which is S tier. This is my absolute favorite adaptation of Spider-Man. No movie, show, or video game comes close to this for me. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating just a little bit, but still, this show is something that should have never ended this soon. There's still so much story to tell. The creator, who's also the creator of Young Justice, suggested there were upward of 5 seasons he was planning, plus some TV movies. But all I'm asking for is just season 3. And who said I was gonna stick to superhero shows for this list? Because I didn't. See, I love the franchise of Ben 10, and I feel it has been disrespected with this new reboot. And to be real, there's always more stories to tell with Ben. I mean, when Omniverse ended, Ben wasn't even 18 yet. Let's ramp the maturity just a little bit and age these characters up into a new show and new story for Ben from this continuity. But it's still B tier because I would like to see it, but I'm not gonna say I absolutely need it. It would be cool to see like its other B tier companion, Regular Show. Regular Show had a bookend ending, but it's my favorite animated show. Well, there's Avatar and BoJack Horseman and some other things, but you know, it's up there. It's at least top 5. The creator himself does feel like if the fans wanted it, he could return. Whether it's after the ending in the future, or maybe after Pop's death, or maybe they just ignore the whole thing and do a little reshaping in the cast. Either way, Regular Show was at its greatest when it was loosely serialized anyway, and if you add some adult themes in it, like it's, let's say, close enough, you could have a new great bingeable show in your lineup alongside South Park and Rick and Morty. And for the last show, let's bring it back to the X-Men with Wolverine and the X-Men. B tier. This show has some really big untapped potential, and it does theoretically connect to Spectacular Spider-Man and Earth's Mightiest Heroes. But we already got X-Men revival in the form of X-Men 97, so I don't see Marvel giving them another one at this point, but it would be nice to experience again, as this is one of the first real memories I have of Marvel as a kid. And when it comes down to it, these hypothetical revivals are going to be determined by a demographic that watched the previous show. X-Men 97's target audience was ultimately those 30-something-year-olds that grew up watching the original show, so of course they'll tune in to watch its revival. Plus, Marvel can attract a new audience of those 13-something-year-old kids for their up-and-coming mutant saga. There's nothing that big coming around for any of these shows I just mentioned, but it was nice to talk about them hypothetically. So if you liked my commentary or rankings, leave a like and subscribe. Follow my socials below and tell me what show you really want to see another season of, animated or otherwise. Have a good day.